This morning is Todd back at the studio. How do I sound, Todd?
Sounding good. Sounding good.
You're going to have to jump in and help me. I'm kind of blind here. I can't look at you for all my time cues and all my things. So you're just going to have to jump in. Now, I have two offices, one at 113 Whiteside Road, Rutherford. The other one at 226 South Trade Street, Tryon, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. I want to welcome everybody. Now, live streaming is off today. Todd, are they just looking at an empty chair there in the blue room? If they go to www.wcab59.com.
I've actually got them zoomed into the WCAB Blue Room banner hanging on the wall there so they can hear you and see the banner.
Well, fantastic. At least they're hearing me, because I know I've got my faithful group that tunes in there live streaming, and then the people that tune in later in the day as this gets picked up and put on the internet. Again, I really want to emphasize what I do is tax preparation and financial advice, but financial advice based on your individual financial information. And I really am seeing more and more the value of that. I've been on the air now at WCAB for 7 years, and I've said this many times, never really driven the point home, but we're seeing it now more and more, the importance of this individualized financial decision making. Because what a lot of people don't understand, and even many people in the business don't understand, every financial decision has a tax consequence. It used to be that we would make business decisions on their own merit. We need a piece of equipment. Let's buy a piece of equipment. We need to hire staff. Let's hire staff. It's not that way anymore, and it really hasn't been that way for many years now, but it's more and more coming to a head. I get phone calls from people, we want to buy this piece of equipment. What's it going to do to my tax return? How's it going to look on my tax return? Or I get the inverse of that, where they say, it looks like our profit and loss statement is showing a lot of profit. Just using rough calculators, we can see how much tax we're going to pay. How do I reduce that tax? Because as many times as I have said, nobody is happy about paying tax. Nobody has ever come to me and said, I want to pay more tax. My job is to get you as low as possible, to keep as much of your money as possible, and do it all within the IRS code. So this has really been a good convention down here. The educational material has just been really first class. All the speakers were national speakers, and this is the last day of it. Actually, as soon as I'm done with the program, I'm going to go back into 2 more sessions. I wish the one session had been before, because I would love to talk about it today, but I will be talking about it next week. Back at the studio, back with you, Todd. It's almost like I'm in information overload, because I want to sort it all through and apply it to the my different clients. The first thing I want to talk about, the first thing I want to get into is Social Security. Social Security has been in the news for 2 reasons lately. There's 2 pieces of information that came out. First, and probably what everybody has heard, the Social Security Administration announced a 5.9% cost of living adjustment. They call it a COLA, cost of living adjustment. So a 5.9 cost of living adjustment. The reason is inflation. As everybody knows, inflation is here. It's a reality. How long will prices stay inflated at the levels that they're at? Nobody knows. Is this permanent pricing we're going to see, or is just cyclical pricing we're going to see? A lot of People remember the 70s. They remember double-digit interest rates when they bought homes. If you told somebody today that in the 70s, 17.9% interest to buy a house, the second piece of information that came out is in September, a report came out from Washington, D.C., and I'm quoting here. This is from NPR, did a great little piece explaining it. The sharp shock of the coronavirus recession pushed Social Security a year closer to insolvency, but left Medicare's exhaustion date unchanged. The government reported Tuesday in a counterintuitive assessment that deepens the uncertainty around the nation's bedrock retirement programs. The new projections in the annual Social Security and Medicare trustees reports indicate that Social Security's massive trust fund will be unable to pay full benefits in 2034 instead of last year's estimated exhaustion date of 2035. For the first time in 39 years, the cost of delivering benefits will exceed the program's total income from payroll tax collection and interest during this year. From here on, Social Security will be tapping its savings to pay for full benefits. The depletion date for Medicare's trust fund for inpatient care remained unchanged from last year's estimate of 2026. So before I read the next part, let me just nutshell that and make sure everybody understood it. Well, a report came out from the trustees. It really did shock a lot of people. You've heard me say on the radio before, the estimated exhaustion date will be the day that Social Security at current levels, at current payout, at current inflation, there's a lot of assumptions being made in this number, but has been 2035. So Social Security is fully funded to meet these expenses through 2035. Well, the new report came out and said, no, it's not going to be 2035 now, it's 2034, a full year earlier. And that's a big deal. That's really a big deal when you consider the massive amount of money that Social Security puts out every year. Depletion date for Medicare, which they're separate programs, although we tend to think of them as together, they are separate programs. The Medicare Trust Fund for inpatient, they're saying that's going to exhaust out in 2026, and that hasn't changed. There's a lot of reasons why. Let me continue with a little bit quoting from the report. The latest estimates reflected the push and pull of many factors flowing from the pandemic. The full impact may take years to sort out. The deep but relatively short recession slashed revenue from payroll taxes. But the death toll from the coronavirus, concentrated among the older people, reduced future Social Security benefit payouts. Hospitals are stretched out by the influx of COVID patients, but Medicare didn't have to pay for a lot of the normal things, surgeries, colonoscopies, and other routine procedures. Birth rates and immigration, which tend to bolster the two programs, both fell. So there's a lot of, I thought the way the article said it was good, the push and pull, because there's, on the one end, you have these things happening that Social Security is not going to be paying for, Medicare is not going to be paying for. But on the other hand, the money coming in, the assumption was always that for every person collecting Social Security, there would be 10 people paying into it. And the number changed over all the years. Originally, when the program started, there were 17 people paying into the program for every one person collecting. So that was how it was set up. Basically, a pyramid scheme when you look at it, but that's the way it was set up, and that's the way it works. So people have a lot of questions, and this report scared a lot of people, and a lot of us advisors, our phones blew up with a lot of questions since September. As we were wrapping up tax season, my phone started ringing, and I was aware a report was coming out, because it comes out every year, and we look at it every year. And most time, the trustees report is just that, the trustees report. And it's just pretty benign. Last year, the cost of living increase was, 1.3%. And every year, and actually several years, we had zero cost of living adjustments because there was no inflation. It was during the Obama presidency, there was a gap in there, and I don't remember 4 or 5 years where it flatlined. There was no inflation. GDP was low. A lot of things were going on, and so they had no reason to adjust it. And people are worried. The most common question, I'm getting 2 very common questions. Should I retire early before this thing runs out of money? Should I take my retirement at 62? I could retire now. I'm in a financial situation. What should I do? Should my spouse retire early, start collecting early? Should I wait till full retirement age? And then you always have the people say, Social Security, will it even be there? I remember, though, back in the 90s when I was involved in financial business, people would say, oh, Social Security is not even going to be there when I'm ready to retire. This was bad. This was 35 years ago we were saying this. But I remember I would always say, no, Social Security is going to be there. It's fully funded. At that time, it had been fully funded in 86. Ronald Reagan at that time created some things that funded it. Really, a lot of what we're doing today, it goes back to that law. Those laws that got passed back then. There were certain acts put in place to protect Social Security. You remember during the Bush-Gore campaign, Al Gore kept saying, I'm going to put Social Security in a lockbox. And people were looking at him like, what are you even talking about? Social Security in a lockbox? Because they were talking about Social Security running out of money somewhere down the pipe. Well, because it wasn't going to happen in a year or two, his message really fell flat. And nobody was too worried about Social Security running out of money. And even today, you're looking at 13 years from now is when they're saying it's going to be fully exhausted. Okay, so will Social Security be there? Yes, Social Security is going to be there. The government is not going to let Social Security fail. My question, and this has been my question since the 90s, I have said this, I'm more concerned about inflation and what is a dollar going to be worth when you're ready to retire, when you're ready to start receiving that. Because basically what Social Security is, it's an annuity. It's a guaranteed income that you're going to get, a guaranteed amount on this date going forward for the rest of your life. That's pretty much it. And we look at it very, very plain vanilla. It's just another income source to you. If you have been setting up a plan, if you've got any money put away, if you've worked and have a 401k, an IRA, you've set up your own private pension, your own annuities, and I look at it as a whole, a basket of goods. What is it? Social Security is just one component of it. The people that are really going to suffer, the people that are, the unknown, is the people that this is their only, or going to be their only source of income. So again, what I'm worried about is what's a dollar going to be worth? And I've been saying this for 30 years, actually. And for this last 7 years, I've repeated it many times, which made me look like not the sanest person in the room when you're talking about inflation, and there isn't any. But growing up as I did in the 70s, I grew up in the 60s. I graduated high school in 77, so that should tell everybody where I'm at. I was driving a car, buying a house in the 80s. So I grew up with that, and I grew up with just crazy inflation. And as people today are like, really? I mean, I remember going to the store and not knowing what prices you were going to pay for things. Or it'd even be in a question, like, what's it going to be? And that's when we started talking about basket of goods. We started talking about a lot of things. So people are calling me. Should I collect Social Security early? Should I wait until full retirement age? Should I wait till the extended retirement age? Todd, I just got a beep. Oh, thank you, Todd. Todd's using technology. He just texted me that it's break time. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay, great. Well, let me finish this one thought, and I'm going to come right back into it. So will Social Security be there? And then we talk about the earnings gap, and we talk about spousal and children benefits. So these are the phone calls I'm getting. Let's go ahead and take that break. And when we come back, I'm going to try to answer some of these questions, or at least give you an explanation about my thinking relative to these questions. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes right here, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com. and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
I am back. That was the International Morse Code signal. Because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Welcome back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. My name is Gilbert Carmona. We are live this morning from Hollywood, Florida at the GWN Educational Conference for 2021. It's been a very exciting conference. It's been the first conference in 2 years, so everybody was just glad to get back out, on, tour, because a lot of these speakers, this is what they do, and they attend, a couple of dozen of these conferences a year, and so they've been cooped up for the last 18, 19, 20 months, and there's a lot of information here. The GWN, what GWN is before I'm going to get right back into Social Security in a minute, but what GWN is, so I am a tax preparer, and I'm also a financial advisor. I'm fully licensed. I do investments. I do financial strategies. I actually physically take your money and invest it. Okay. Now, to do that, I need a vehicle, and GWN is that vehicle. So I don't get the money. I either roll over your retirement plan, or I work within your retirement plan, or there's many different ways to do this, but they handle the paperwork. They actually handle the administration of the money. Usually the money sits with what we call a third-party administrator. These are names you've heard: Fidelity, Wells Fargo Advisors, some of these big companies that do nothing but hold the money. But I determine where these investments go and what these investments are doing. Everything I try to do with a goal, and I try to have a plan, because things do go south. One of the speakers made said a quote here that I'm going to repeat. You're either coming out of a storm, going into a storm, or in the middle of a storm. There is no periods of smooth sailing. There's periods of reprieve, but you're either doing one or the other. You're either coming out of a storm, going into a storm, or you're in the middle of a storm. I have a plan for what to do at every one of those stages. We're going into a storm. Okay, We're going to do this, this, this. We're going to rebalance. We're going to look at your assets. We're going to look at how we've allocated. We're coming out of the storm. Okay, let's look. What can we move around? What can we do? What's the projection for up ahead? We're in the middle of a storm. I got a plan for that too. And everything I do is based on your individual financial information. That's the key. And it didn't used to be this way. It's hard to believe that at one point we didn't even have taxation. I mean, Todd, can you imagine a point in our history when we didn't have taxes? And then let's talk about a point in our history when the top earners were paying 90% of their income. I've shared the story about Elvis Presley. At his peak of his career, he was giving the IRS 92% of his money, and he still had a fortune to play with. But so when people complain today about high taxes, I can point to that period, but then I can also point to a period when we had no taxes. But again, every financial decision is a tax decision. It has a tax consequence. So that's what's been so good about coming here. You were really getting the latest and the greatest and just updated. And there is a lot. I'll probably be sharing the information. I've taken pages of notes, recorded several speakers, and I'm just excited at what I've learned and excited at the opportunities to serve you, my listeners, my customers, to serve you guys better. Now, let me get right back into Social Security. I just, before the break, I shared two pieces of information that came out. First, Social Security announced a 5.9 cost of living adjustment, COLA, the largest COLA in 40 years, 5.9%. Some experts are saying that's not enough, that inflation was really more than that. And if you've put gas in your car lately or gone to the grocery store or eaten at a restaurant, you would agree with that. It's like, well, this is more than this went up more than 6%, but it's what people way smarter than me came up with, and everybody seems to be good with it. 5.9 cost of living adjustment for Social Security, and that a lot of reasons. And it's I don't think it's any one simple reason. You know, a lot of dynamics to play, but so people are calling, people are worried. The biggest question is, should I go ahead and retire early? Should I retire at 62? Should I wait for retirement age? And as I was saying before the break, people are concerned, will Social Security even be there? Well, they're interpreting that wrong. It's not that Social Security is going to end in 2034 versus 2035. It's that the current levels of expenses and the money that is in the fund, the money that they have in a savings account, which it's very complicated. It's not just it's not like in a savings account at TD Bank. Okay, it's not like that. But they do have a fund they can tap. Will be till 2034. They will do something. When will they do it? I don't know. In Washington, D.C., you're talking about 13 years from now. 13 years is an eternity. That could realistically be, we could have 2 or 3 different presidents, or 4 or 5, depending how things go by then. So it's not, I don't see them jumping on this and fixing it right now. As a matter of fact, I don't see them doing much of anything right now. And then people are asking me a lot of, because in the news they've talked about earnings cap. They've talked about the spousal and children's benefits. A lot of these things are coming up. People have questions about this. First of all, I want to say this. The government will not let Social Security fail. Whatever they have to do, they will do to guarantee payments. The big question is, what's a dollar going to be worth when you are ready to start collecting Social Security? Now, there are strategies for maximizing your earnings. And I'm not going to get into these because I could literally do a 4-hour program, and I'm not exaggerating, Todd. I said when I did my sound check with Todd earlier, I said, I might run out of what to say today. And Todd said, I don't think that'll happen. Thank you for your confidence, Todd. But I don't want to talk over everybody's head either. A lot of this stuff's very technical. But there are strategies. And again, these strategies are individual. So when I meet with you one-on-one, that's when I can talk about what's a strategy for you, because everything matters. The age of the husband and the age of the spouse matters. The age of children under the age of 18 matter. I know most people think of Social Security as being for older people, but there are strategies where the spouse, there's a spouse that can start collecting early Social Security. The other spouse is 8 years younger than him, and they actually have a child under the age of 18 that can collect the children's benefit. There are several strategies that I can employ right in there where all three of them would get a benefit. Sounds shocking, doesn't it? But it's there. These things are there, and they're in the code. These things you can do. So the best strategy, the best thing to do is, if you have any concerns about Social Security, please give me a call, especially those of you that are already my clients. I've already got your financial information. We can sit down and have a meeting and go over these and see what the best thing for you is. Just to tell you about one thing that can be done. If you wait from age 62 to age 70, your benefit would increase by 76%, which is huge. You know, Social Security age was set at 65 back in the 30s and the 40s, when people at 65 were just worn out. It was an industrial work modality. People worked hard. People worked long hours. They worked industrial jobs, agricultural jobs. At 65, a lot of them, their bodies were just worn out. They were ready to retire. That's not what's happening today. Today, there are people at age 65 that have sat there in chairs in front of me and said, I'm just getting started. My doctor says I am in excellent health. I want to start another career. I have actually had people start a business in their mid-60s, late 60s. I've had people, one lady's writing a book. Another person started a fast food business. Another person is a contractor now. Another person is a consultant, 66 years old, and his company, he retired, and the company called them back and said, you know, we really do need you, but we don't really need you in a full-time position, but we need your advice. If you were here for 30 years, you know more about what's going on than anybody here. And they've arranged for a fee-based contract, and I helped him set all that up, and he's actually going to be doing pretty good. And that's going to go on for at least another 4 or 5 years, or as long as he's healthy. They definitely value his input. So it's a different time now. So waiting from age 62 to age 70, which is your full, so there's full retirement age, and then there's, you know, if you want to wait, there's the retirement age of 70, would raise it to 76%. Survivor benefits. It's important to know how these survivor benefits work. There's a strategy where a husband does not collect. We coordinate strategies. The husband does not collect. The spouse, and this is it for people that were born before 1954. This is actually a strategy that's going to phase out pretty soon. It's a disappearing strategy, but it is still there. And there are people that are taking advantage of this. The husband doesn't collect until the age 70, but the spouse can collect and collects a larger portion. So by coordinating these strategies, these things work. I know it's time to take another break, Todd. Let me finish this one thought. A lot of people go online and use these break-even calculators to calculate, well, should I retire? When should I retire? What is my full retirement age? The problem with break-even calculators, well, there's several problems with break-even calculators. All the ones that I have seen and I have used, and those of you out there, you mathematicians out there can maybe explain this a little bit better than me. But what these break-in calculators tend to do is, first of all, they're not accurate. They're not accurate in the real world, because what they tend to do is they always tend to skew to early retirement. They do not take into account other factors like the earnings cap or the strategy for deferring till later retirement, and the spouse starting to collect higher, especially if you have a spouse that didn't work, or you have a spouse that did work and would collect a lower rate. Or what about divorced people? There's strategies for people that were divorced, collecting the spousal benefit as long as they were married for 10 years. You got the 10-year rule. So these break-even calculators don't take a lot of things into account, and they seem to always skew towards early retirement. And I've even heard a CPA, I've actually heard several CPAs using these calculators advise the client, go ahead and take early retirement. And then I sit down and bring up other factors like capital gains and other incomes that they have that would actually raise that, and investment income, rental income, all these things have to be looked at together. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a break, Todd. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
I want to tell you about another great local business, Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949. Sean is a licensed general contractor. He can do your job from site development to completion. That's Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949 and tell him Gilbert Talks Taxes sent you. People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Welcome back, everyone. I am live this morning. Todd just told me that a couple of times it's like my signal fades out a little bit. I am live. We are down in Hollywood, Florida at the GWN Educational Conference for 2021. First educational conference since COVID happened. So everybody's been excited about this to get back together. But I am live, and it has been raining down here, sunny Florida. It's the Sunshine State, not this week. It was the gray and gloomy state. And it was that Florida rain, Todd, that hard driving rain that they get down here. I couldn't even see the beach, let alone go to the beach. But I am here, and we've been getting a lot of really good information. Now, people tell me I don't give out my telephone number enough. My telephone number is 828-289-9300 if you need to make an appointment to come see me. You can also send me an email, Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. And basically, I am an enrolled agent and a financial advisor. What I do is I prepare tax returns, but I use your individual financial information to give you advice. I try to keep as much of your money as you can, and I try to grow your money. That is my goal. That is my whole purpose, Todd. That's what makes the difference with me from other tax preparers and other financial preparers. Because the thing that is more and more evident every financial decision is a tax decision, and every tax decision is a financial decision. The two of them are very, very connected. Now, I think I pretty much have said everything I want to say about Social Security for right now. The thing I wanted people to walk away with is that there is no simple black and white strategy with Social Security. I'm going to collect Social Security when my full retirement age is 66 and 10 months, or 66 and 4 months, or 66 and whatever you were born. Because there was a phase out. Full retirement age used to be 65. They bumped it up to 67 for a lot of the reasons I said before the break, where people are just living longer and people are healthier, people are working longer. 65 is just not a retirement age for a lot of people. For other people, it is. For other people are already at 65 or 62. And of course, there's health issues. There's people that have to retire. They just can't work anymore. But we have a growing number of people. What was it they used to call them years ago? They used to call them the gray foxes. They were still very active, very healthy. Their minds were very sound. And I have clients that are working into their 70s. I'm talking full-time work, into their 70s. And when we talk about retirement, it's like, well, maybe someday. So this is a reality. So the big news, of course, Social Security announced 5.9% cost of living adjustment. And this is huge. I cannot stop saying how big this is. This is going to be big for a lot of people, but it's just keeping up with inflation. And then the other question is about Social Security's funding. But there is no black and white answer. Yes, retire at 63. Yes, retire at 70. You've got to look at it all. There's a lot of strategies, and it involves the whole family. It involves the spouse. It involves dependent children that qualify for children's benefits. When some of these benefits can be 76% of what you're collecting, there's a lot to consider, and there's a lot to talk about. Am I sounding good there, Todd?
Yep, sounding good.
Okay, great. Todd just informed me that I'm fading in and out a little bit, but I think that's part of the Wi-Fi. I'm not Wi-Fi, I'm sorry. Part of the Verizon network down here and all this heavy rain. I just saw my bars dip way down. It's like it goes down, goes up. Okay. And if you need to give me a call, I would love to talk to you about this subject. And those of you that are already clients of mine, be looking for some emails and be looking for some phone calls. I've kind of put a lot of financial planning on the back burner because I wanted to come to this education seminar. It's just I'm on information overload. There's so much has been put out there. There's so much, and it's not all bad. It's not a doom and gloom. There's actually a lot of good things happening. Inflation, recession, supply chain disruptions. What good news could there be in that? A lot, actually. A lot. There's a lot of financial opportunities out there. There are a lot of things that can be done. But again, you need to just sit down and look, what are your goals? What is it you want to do? Because it's not just make a lot of money anymore. Well, let's just accumulate a lot of money. I want to accumulate a lot of money for my retirement. I want $1 million. I remember financial planners used to advertise that. You have to have $1 million in retirement. No, you don't. That is just a flat out lie. You do not have to have $1 million in retirement or whatever number. If you're not going to have a good retirement if you don't have at least $500,000. Now, somebody said to me, well, I don't care how much money I have. I just want to be able to live on the coast and see the beach every morning. I said, well, you can do that for free. They're called bums. Florida's full of them. They live on the sand. That doesn't cost anything. So no, let's get a little more real about what your goals are. Let's get a little more real about what you want to do. I've shared the story about the man. People are surprised when they come to me and we start talking about retirement because I don't talk about money, or at least not in the beginning, because it's not about money. It's about what do you want to do? And this is it seems to be my theme lately because it's a lot of what I talk to people about. but I can visit all three of them. I can see the country. And I said, okay, great, let's do that. How much is an RV? So the RV he wanted was $35,000. And I got the model number, I got the name, I got everything. And we looked for it, we found it, and $35,000 for this RV. And then all the other little things that he needed to go with it and blah, blah, blah. And when I gave him my suggestion for a financial plan, I had that RV in there and I had allocated that amount of money for it. And I don't know why that tickled him so much, but I said, this is what retirement's about. It's what do you want to do? My job is to help you get there. But I can't help you get there if I don't know what you want to do. I had the thought, when I came in, I landed at the airport and got a rental car and I was driving to the hotel. And I saw a big, giant ship. It was big. I don't know what, it was one of those cruise ships. It's gigantic. I didn't realize, until you get up next to one, you don't realize how big they really are. When you see them on TV and stuff, but when you drive by one, these things are gigantic. And when you think, when a ship leaves port and it's going to a destination, I mean, for 96% of the time, it can't see that destination, but it's got a plan and it's following that plan. And he's the captain is steering that ship, following his plan. And things happen, weather happens, equipment failure, different things. And as he gets new inputs, he adjusts his plan, but he has a plan. And he sails that ship right into port. And as I was driving by that ship and it was coming in and they were docking it and stuff, it was really a marvel to watch this. I just sat there and looked. Light turned green and I was looking. I didn't want to move. I just wanted to watch this. And I thought, that is so much like our lives. Do we have a plan? Do we have a course that we're going to steer? And that is what I want to help people do. So give me a call. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. My email address, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Todd, let's go ahead and take that third break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about there's a major transfer of wealth happening. It's not going to happen. It's already happening from one generation to the next. The governments can't even guess how much money it is. There's all kinds of estimates and guesstimates about how much is going to transfer. Are you ready for that transfer? Because it's going to happen. Let's take a break, Todd. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi, I'm Sandra. My husband Peterson and I own Precision Detail and Tint. We invite you to come to our new location at 620 U.S. Highway 64, Rutherford, on the corner of Silvers Lake Road and Highway 64. Whether you need specialty detailing for your car, RV, or boat, or window tinting for your automobile, or home or business, we can help you. Voted Best of Rutherford County for 11 straight years, you will know you will get quality work at a good price. Stop by for an appointment or call 828-245-8889. We're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1.
This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business. This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
We are back. That was the International Morse Code Signal, the call for help, because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Welcome back, everyone. I am live this morning from Hollywood, Florida at the GWN Educational Conference for 2021. My name is Gilbert Carmona. This program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am an enrolled agent and a financial advisor. I prepare tax returns, and based on your individual financial information, I try to find a way for you to keep as much of that money as possible and to grow that money. So this is the last section of the program, and I will be back live next Saturday in the studio, and I'm going to keep bringing a lot of this information that we learned. It's really going to take me a little bit of time to digest some of this. There was a lot. There's just a lot. There's a lot of good changes coming, and there's a lot of good opportunities coming. If you need to reach me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. You can reach me at gilberttalkstaxes.com. Okay, to end up this last portion, there is a major, I don't know what to call it. There's going to be it is happening. Not that it's going to happen. It is happening. There is a generational transfer of wealth. There is a generation that is passing, and there is a generation that is coming up. It's funny because when people talk about millennials, you remember when we used to say the millennials are going to be the next market, the millennials. And it was like, what is even a millennial anymore? Millennials today are in their 30s, and pretty soon millennials are going to be grandparents. They're already parents. So let me back up. What was a millennial? A millennial really was anybody born between 1981 and 1996. So back, in the 2000s, we were calling them, when they were teenagers, in the early 2000s, we were calling them, these young kids, and we had this image of millennials, humped over their phones, always texting, always emailing, always looking at their phones and being out of tune. Well, that's really not the case. So most millennials today, or not most, all millennials today are between the ages of 23 and 38. Like I said, their parents, some of them are getting ready to become grandparents. So millennials are no longer this, they were the butt of every joke, right? They were the punchline of jokes. Well, not anymore. They are now the inheritors of the baby boomers' wealth. And the question is, are you ready for this transfer? The estimates are crazy. The government's saying anywhere from $50 trillion to $100 trillion of generational wealth is getting ready to transfer. And there a lot of people are saying, well, you have to understand millennials. You have to understand how they work, no, you don't. No, you don't, because they're people. They have the same basic needs that we do. And you, as the parents of these millennials that are getting ready to transfer this wealth, because like it or not, it's going to happen. Okay? That's just the reality of what's getting ready to happen. So the whole few minutes I have left with you, what I want to talk about is, please be ready for this transfer. And there's a way to do this transfer that can be cost effective and can keep that money in the family, not in the government's hands or whatever. People think about, well, I want to have a will because I don't want to go to probate, or I want a will because, I don't want this to happen or that to happen. Don't think of it as avoiding pain. Think of it as being prepared. You have a will because you're prepared. So many people are passing away, and they come to me, the children come to me. It's too late. We're stuck now. I'm limited to what I can do. But if you plan a little bit ahead of time, you can really ease a lot of trouble. But more importantly, you can pass down this money that you work. And it's not just always about money. A lot of these things are just memories. a lot of these things are assets that mean something to you. They're part of your family. They're part of your heritage. They're part of your legacy. And you hand these things down, or at least you have control of what's going to happen to them. And it might just be to give money or pass money on to your children. It might also be to pass money on to your charity, whether that charity is a church or a or a social, a community or animal shelter or whatever's important to you. But your money can actually keep working after you've passed away. But the time to do it is now. I've shared the story several times. There was a husband and wife, and they wanted to put their daughter's name on their house so that if something happened to them, the daughter would have the asset, right? Sounds good, right? On the surface, sounds great. That way there will be no issues, no probate issues, and it would be just a simple transition, because they had put her name on bank accounts and made her, payable on death on some of the bank accounts so that she could easily access these accounts. And that's a simple thing to do. And they had done a lot of the things correctly, things that I recommend to do. But then they were going to put her name on their house, their primary residence, and literally, as they were getting ready to sign this paperwork and register it at the courthouse and do all that stuff, the husband, the daughter's husband, said, "Has anybody called Gilbert and asked him about this?" Because I do taxes for the parents and the children. "Has anybody called Gilbert?" And they all just looked at him and said, "No." And he said, "Can we just wait and let's just call Gilbert tomorrow? Let's just make sure that this doesn't, there's no issues with this." Well, that man was really right, because there were major issues with doing that. They'd been living in the house for 40 plus years. When you transfer an asset that way, you're transferring it with the cost basis of when they bought the house. Well, they actually had the house built. So their cost basis, what that house cost them, was very, very little. And that house today is worth a lot of money. So they would have straddled that daughter with a major capital gains. And because it's not the daughter's primary residence, there is no $500,000 exclusion on the capital gains. She would have paid capital gains. Well, married filing jointly would have had an $80,000 exclusion just on capital gains, period. But they would have, their capital gains would have been in excess of $320,000. Okay, that was their capital gains. Their tax on that would have been about $40,000. So this is an important issue. This is something to discuss. Okay, and that tax that I just said is not just on their capital gains; it's all of it, because they had other things. They had business income, they had pensions, they had stock portfolio. They had a lot of things going on. See, I was aware of all of that. So I was able to say, no, do not do this. Get a will, let's transfer it this way. Because what happens is, when the mother and father pass away, if the daughter gets this house as inherited property, her cost basis is the value of the house on the date of death. So the cost basis would literally have gone up, and I don't remember the exact numbers, so I'm just making some numbers up, where it cost them 40 years ago, it cost them $30,000 to build this house. I know, right? $30,000 to build a house. $30,000 to build this house. And it was a low number like that. I don't remember the exact number, but it was like, I think with improvements and everything that I kind of calculated, I had the cost basis at like around $50,000. Okay, the house today is worth $400,000, which is not, and I was being pretty conservative. That was not an out there number. And the way housing prices are going, they haven't passed away yet. They are older. Who knows what that house is going to be worth when they do pass away? And they're in an area that's got incredible appreciation, and no signs of it letting up. So when you do it that way, their cost basis would have been the date of purchase or the date of building. But if you do it the way I suggested, they would have gotten that stepped up cost basis. and her capital gains would have been probably zero, or if she would have made a little gain, it would have been very little. Because the daughter does not intend to keep the house. The daughter intends to sell the house. She's got her own house. They have their own. They're not going to keep it. And it's these kind of things that we have in these financial planning conversations. So I want you to just be ready, because this is going to happen. And how is it going to happen? And I'm seeing people leaving a lot of money on the table just because of bad planning. So where do we start? Well, I'd like you to give me a call. If you're one of my clients, I preach this to you every time I do your tax return, so you've already heard it, and I'm hopefully you're acting on it. If you're not one of my clients and you want to talk to me, again, my telephone number, 828-289-9300. Send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. But the first place you need to start is get a will. And I'm not an attorney. I don't do wills. Okay, and I'm not plugging any specific attorney. Just get a will. Go to an attorney that does wills, estates, and trusts as their primary business. Don't go to an attorney that does a little bit of everything. Again, firms do a little bit of everything, but within the firm, there will be an attorney, typically, that specializes. Go to an attorney that specializes in wills, trusts, and estates, because these laws do change. Things do happen. Lawsuits and things bring new caveats. They'll be aware of all that. Todd, you just jump in and tell me when I've got 30 seconds left, because I know I'm down to the 1
30 seconds.
Down to the 1 minute.
30 seconds.
30. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd. So this generational shift is happening. Please be ready for it. You can start with a will. That's the first thing you got to do.
Mostly sunny skies throughout the day today. Highs in the lower 70s. Overnight tonight, clear in the lower 40s. Sunday,